All right, find your Bibles, take and find Zephaniah. Zephaniah, chapter number 1. We ran out of time last week looking at Zephaniah chapter number 1, so we're going to look again at Zephaniah chapter number 1. Zephaniah chapter number 1. We'll read again. It's always good to read it. The chapter number 1. Follow along as I read. Verse 1 says, "The word of the Lord which came unto Zephaniah, the son of Cushai, the son of Gedaliah, the son of Amariah, the son of Hizkiah, in the days of Josiah, the son of Ammon, king of Judah. I will utterly consume all things from off the land, saith the Lord. I will consume man and beast. I will consume the fowls of the heaven, and the fish of the sea, and the stumbling blocks with the wicked. And I will cut off man from off the land, saith the Lord. I will also stretch out mine hand upon Judah and upon all the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And I will cut off the remnant of Baal from this place, and the name of the Chemarims from this with the priests, and them that worship the host of heaven upon the housetops, and them that worship and swear by the Lord, and that swear by Malcolm, and them that are turned back from the Lord, and those that have not sought the Lord, nor inquired for him. Hold thy peace at the presence of the Lord God, for the day of the Lord is at hand, for the Lord hath prepared a sacrifice, he hath bid his guests. And it shall come to pass in the day of the Lord's sacrifice that I will punish the princes and the king's children, and all such as are clothed with strange apparel. In the same day also will I punish all those that leap on the threshold, which fill their masters' houses with violence and deceit. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord, that there shall be a noise of a cry from the fish gate, and an howling from the second, and a great crashing from the hills. Howl, the inhabitants of Maktesh, for all the merchant people are cut down, all they that bear silver are cut off. And it shall come to pass at the time that I will search Jerusalem with candles, and punish the men that are settled on their lees, that say in their heart, the Lord will not do good, neither will he do evil. Therefore their goods shall become a booty, and their houses a desolation. They shall also build houses, but not inhabit them. And they shall plant vineyards, but not drink the wine thereof. The great day of the Lord is near, it is near, and hasteth greatly, even the voice of the day of the Lord. The mighty man shall cry there bitterly. That day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wastedness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, and a day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. And I will bring the distress upon men, that they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against the Lord, and their blood shall be poured out as dust, and their flesh as the dung. Neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath. But the whole land shall be devoured by the fire of his jealousy, for he shall make even a speedy riddance of them that dwell in the land." So says Zephaniah. Any feedback before I get into my notes tonight? Give you a chance. Any feedback from this chapter? Thoughts, observations, deep spiritual insights? Jeff is going to go for deep spiritual insights.
I keep wondering when he says the noise of a cry from the fish gate. Like, are there different names for the gates of the temple or around the walls?
Around the walls of Jerusalem, yeah. Yeah. There's a fish gate, dung gate, eastern gate, western gate. Yeah. I presume it's a fish gate because that's where they sold fish. I don't know. I'm not actually sure the answer on that one. Was what? Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm going to... Yeah, not so much that one, yeah. No, so those gates are mentioned in Nehemiah, I believe. With all the names of the gates that are there. But yeah, different gates. Yeah, maybe that's exactly right, yeah. Go to Pike's Market in Seattle. Yeah, they're all throwing fish around and haggling and things going on. Yeah. And the noise of the fish gate. Yeah. Which verse is that, Jeff? Yeah. Any other observations or things from here, Connor?
Yeah, that's interesting. I just realised
Yes. Yes.
It says in 11, it says, "How the inhabitants of Makdesh, where all the merchant people are cut down, all of their silver are cut off." And then in the last
Verse 18.
verse 18 as well, that could have something to do with the fish gate and the merchantmen that are there as well. Well, that's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. And a howling. Yep. The noise of a cry from the fish gate, but not the normal cry. This is the cry of business not as usual. Yeah, no, that's absolutely what's taking place here.
There's nothing like wealth to pervert the heart.
Yes. And there's nothing like a lack of wealth to bring the heart back. Yeah. And that's exactly what's actually taking place here. There is finances on the line here. Maktesh, verse 11, how the inhabitants of Maktesh. Some have said that that's sort of like what we would call Wall Street, where Wall Street in New York is the main business center where trade takes place. And this Maktesh has to do with an indentation in the land or something is what the word literally means, but a place probably inside the city of Jerusalem where trading would take place and bartering and selling and buying and selling. And so there's haggling and there's noise and money is being converted. You can just imagine the busyness of it. But he says it's going to come to a complete stop. God is going to, they're going to howl there and great sadness, for all the merchant people are cut down and all they that bear silver are cut off. So there's going to be a stopping of the finances and a stopping of the money. And you can hear the great cry. I wasn't around for the 1920s, and nor were you, but I've read about it, and the results of the Great Depression, and when the stock market crashed, and the howling that came about of that. There are fables of stories of people jumping off roofs and things like that. Whether they're true or not, there's speculation as to whether they're actually true stories. But nonetheless, a Great Depression comes, and there's a howling that takes place. That's what Zephaniah is saying. And he's also saying this in verse 18, neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath. Because this is what they're thinking. Things are good right now. The market is up. We've got money in the bank. We've got trade as usual. Right, but you know how quickly God brought a close to that? Like very, very quickly, that all of that came to a grinding halt. And as much as they thought, it's fine. You know what? Everything's going to be okay. We've got Egypt down in the south. And if we need anything, like they'll help us, and we can pay money to them, and they'll add their soldiers to our soldiers. If the Chaldeans come, we have alliances, military, political. We've got money in the bank to be able to do that. We've got lines of credit. We've got some very wealthy people in our city and very well connected in the trade routes, and we'll be okay. And Zephaniah, God is saying through Zephaniah, no, it's not going to be okay. It's going to come to a grinding, crashing halt. Now, if you read in Revelation, it seems that one of the things that's going to come to a crashing halt is the world's financial system. Down it comes. And the merchants are going to be howling and weeping because the sale of the goods and the merchandise of this world is going to come to a grinding halt. Man, that's going to be a big deal. When the wealth dries up and the financial system falls over. And as much as man thinks that the financial system is rock solid in his wisdom, one thing I've learnt the older I get is that the world's financial system is a house of cards. Flick it here and the whole thing collapses. And they're always trying to build it up, and by saying, no, it's going to be okay, everything's good. And they're doing that to trying to put confidence into the whole system. The whole thing is built on confidence. You lose confidence and the whole thing just goes. That's the world's economics. And God knows exactly where to flick the house of cards, and it's going to come down one day out of his judgment, and it's going to be a day of howling, and the merchants are going to be cut down, and the silver and the gold is going to mean nothing. The verse that Dusty likes to quote, a day's labor for a loaf of bread. That's hyperinflation. That's where values and markets completely crash. And God is able to do it. He's able to bring down the system of this world in judgment against it. The verse I just want to look at that we never got to last week, verse number 12, says this, "And it shall come to pass at the time that I will search Jerusalem with candles and punish the men that are settled on their lees, that say in their heart, the Lord will not do good, neither will he do evil." That's an interesting phrase and a turn of phrase to say that they are settled on their lees. The lees is the dregs, though they are technically, from the readings, dregs are associated with beer and lees are associated with wine, but it's the sediment that settles under the fermentation process. And as they're sitting there as those big caskets of wine, they've been pressed and they've been stomped on and it's gone through the wine press. It still gets all that pulp in the skin and the bits of different bits of grape, and it ends up in the vat, as in those containers. And it settles down, and under fermentation and the yeast and all the things that takes place to ferment, it would settle down at the bottom, and they would have to stir it, and they rack it, is the process of racking it. If they left it there, if they left the lees in that wine, then it becomes, it starts to thicken up the wine, and it starts to give off an acidic, sour taste, and it starts to permeate through that wine. So they don't want it to settle, because the lees influences and affects the taste and the flavor in an acidic way to that wine. So the way that what they have to do is they rack it. They take a jug, they take a container of the wine, and they pour it into another container. And as it's pouring out, the good is on the top, and then they filter out the lees, maybe pouring it through a piece of cloth or something like that, and they would pour it out, and that lees is then removed from it so they can keep the wine sweet to the taste, lest if it just sits there unmoved and untouched, that lees will then permeate and sour the wine. And so there's a process of racking and moving and changing that they would do. And he is saying there are men here that are settled on their lees. It means they haven't been moved. They're sitting there. Everything has been comfortable in the nation of Israel, in Judah for a long time, and Jerusalem is settled. And as they settle, then the lees has taken over, and it's affecting their heart to the place where they are thickened and sour towards the things of God, and they actually just don't care whether God is going to do good or whether he's going to do evil. Yeah, he's not going to do good, or he's going to do evil. He doesn't really care about what's going on here, and I'm too focused on making money at Maktesh, and I'm too much money of the silver and the gold from the merchants. That's what I care about. Couldn't really care what God thinks. And you know what? He doesn't really care about what I think either. We're just happily doing our own thing separate. But that is far from the truth. God did care, and he does care. And he says, I'm going to judge those who are settled on their lees, who have allowed to be settled. It says that about Moab as well in Jeremiah. It says in Jeremiah 48:11, Moab hath been at ease from his youth, and he hath settled on his lees, and hath not been emptied from vessel to vessel, neither hath he gone into captivity. Therefore his taste remained in him, and his scent is not changed. It's a better picture of it, that because things were easy, because things were comfortable for Moab, and he had been at ease from his youth, and he had settled down, his heart had been, and not been emptied from vessel to vessel. Moab, it says, his heart was bad before God. And so God was going to pour him out, shake things up a little bit. And guess what happens in your life if you just sit stagnant for a while in your Christian life? Things start to settle. And these lees of sorts, this natural process that happens in the wine making industry, happens in our heart as well. We sit and we settle, and then as we sit and settle, it's like our heart starts to coagulate, to sour. Indeed, is what happens. Our heart starts to sour. And you know what God does? He shakes things up. He comes in and he knows how to stir things up, and he knows how to shake some things. And if you've looked back over your life, I think you're like me, where you can say you have the times you are closest to God, the times that you have grown the most, is when God has come into your life and shaken things up. But if you just sit and are just settled for a long period of time, your heart starts to sour. And God, in His mercy, brings troubles into our lives to shake us up and to remove those lees that our heart might be clean and pure before God. And so don't regret those troubles when they come. Don't shake your fist at God and say, why? Maybe He is actually mercifully allowing the troubles to come into your life to remove some of the lees that has happened in your life from just being settled as you are. And God has a way of unsettling us. He does. He knows how to unsettle us. He knows how to rack us, that process of racking, turning from vessel to vessel and pouring us out. And I tell you what, the more we are poured out and emptied, the cleaner our lives get and the more joy that we have. And you've probably realized that when you are busiest for God, pouring out your life into ministry and into the service of God, it's where our heart is oftentimes the healthiest. Our heart before God and our heart towards others is the healthiest when we are pouring ourselves out for God. And when we stop pouring ourselves out, we become settled and we start to sour as Christians. And sour Christians are not joyful Christians, and sour Christians are not fun to be around. They're not. No one enjoys being a sour Christian, and no one enjoys being around a sour Christian. And God says, I will work it out, and I will come after those who are settled on their lees, and I will pour them out from vessel to vessel to purify and to clean the heart, and that we might be better vessels of honor unto Him. So let me encourage you tonight with this very simple thought. Don't regret the times that God unsettles you, that God starts to pour you out and bring things in to stir some things up. He wants to purify your heart. And if you knew anything about your heart, and if you knew anything about the workings of God, is that you also want God to purify your heart. It's a much better place to live when your heart is pure before God and before others. And so God, rack us, put us over the rack, pour us out, stir us up, shake us up, get the lees out of our lives, and things will be better as a result. And if you're in a settled position in life, maybe you just need to ask God, God, help me to purify my heart. And some things, don't be gentle with me, God. Be merciful in your judgments. But God, purify my heart that I might be sweet before you and before others. Settled on their lees is the mentioning of what that is. No money would save them from it either. We'll leave off our reading there and we'll look at chapter 2 next week, where he changes the focus from Israel to the nations. And he changes the focus from Israel to the nations around Israel. Find a prayer partner tonight and bring the requests before the Lord. And remember Phil's wife. Remember our missionaries, even though we didn't read a letter. Remember the Harrington family, which we read about last week. The Vanderspecks will be with us in a few weeks, so pray for them over there in West Wyalong. Find a prayer partner and bring the requests before the Lord.